Donald Trump has announced he is going to double the tariffs imposed on Canadian steel and aluminium.
For each other and our own independence on our own 2 feet. And I say we don't let up until the president takes the threat off the table.
See the punch that's coming, and that counter punch that's going to come from Canada is going to hurt heavily. We know it's going to hurt us, but we have no choice.
Delivered to me too is stand strong. We are not going to accept these continual threats, this continued uncertainty.
So Canada is literally shutting the door to Alaska and telling America to take a hike.
That enables us to respond to escalations from the American side. It will not be implemented immediately, but we will have it available if it's required.
Justin Trudeau just slapped a 25% toll on all US trucks heading to the last frontier, and Trump's throwing a tantrum bigger than when someone tells him his tie is crooked. I mean, can you imagine calling your GPS and it says, "Sorry, route to Alaska is no longer available." Canada's feelings were hurt. Trump's already tweeting that Alaska was a bad deal anyway. Too cold, too many bears, never liked it. Classic Donnie Diapers blaming everyone but himself for another international embarrassment.
I did see the media report indicating that yet again, the president is sowing uncertainty and chaos.
Before we move on, I'd like to ask you a small favor. If you appreciate this content, please take a second to like this video and subscribe to the channel. Over 98% of you watch the videos without subscribing. It costs you nothing, but it makes a huge difference to us. So, did you click the subscribe button? Great, thank you so much. Now, back to the video. Is Canada really blocking US access to Alaska? Let's separate fact from fiction in this northern border drama. The answer might shock you more than Trump's hair in a wind tunnel. Here's the real scoop. Canada isn't putting up a maple leaf-shaped stop sign on the Alaska border, but British Columbia has started slapping new tolls and fees on American trucks passing through to reach the last frontier. And these aren't just random charges because Canadians woke up feeling extra spicy. No, these fees are direct payback for Trump's completely unexpected 50% tariff hike on Canadian steel and aluminum.
And Donald Trump has announced he is going to double the tariffs imposed on Canadian steel and aluminium.
Our favorite orange president tried to justify his tariff tantrum by claiming Canada is taxing our electricity. That's like blaming your neighbor for your broken window after you've been throwing rocks at their house all day. The reality? Trump fired the first shot in this trade war.
Live now from Fox, as President Trump just announced that he will double the planned tariffs on Canadian steel and aluminum.
And now Alaska's about to pay the price. Picture the scene, Trump lounging at Mar-a-Lago, ketchup dripping down his well-done steak, suddenly announcing that Canada needs to be taught a lesson. Meanwhile, he completely forgot that Alaska, that massive state we bought from Russia, can only be reached by land through the very country he just provoked. Geography was clearly not his best subject at Wharton.
For each other and our own independence on our own 2 feet. And I say we don't let up until the president takes the threat off the table.
Very chaotic tariff policy that the president is putting in place and pretending that that will have benefits for American workers and American communities across the country.
Imagine that awkward phone call with Alaska's governor. "Sir, we can't get our supplies because you picked a fight with Canada." Trump probably thought Alaska was connected to Washington state by a land bridge or something. "Just drive there," he'd say, completely unaware that there's this little thing called Canada in between. Trump's solution? He'd likely suggest building a giant bridge over Canada, or maybe digging a tunnel under it. Or he'd just claim Alaska was a bad deal anyway. Too cold up there, too many bears, not enough golf courses. I like states that don't freeze, okay?
What's also hurting is the uncertainty that the continued threat and removal of tariffs has on our country here in Canada.
The most beautiful irony in all this is that the man who wanted to build a massive wall to keep people out is now furious that someone else is making it harder to get in. It's like karma, but with more maple syrup and A's.
Modification short term because I didn't want to hurt the American. It would have hurt the American car companies if I did.
That karma with maple syrup is about to get a whole lot stickier. Ever wonder what happens when the world's nicest country decides to stop being so nice? Turns out our friendly northern neighbors aren't just politely saying sorry while Trump throws his tariff tantrum. They're executing a revenge plan that would make the Godfather proud. Canada isn't randomly responding to Trump's trade war. They're surgically targeting his voter base with the precision of a moose hunter. Ontario is threatening to cut electricity exports entirely, which would leave 1.5 million American households in Trump voting states like Michigan and Minnesota sitting in the dark. Imagine flipping the switch and turning off the lights on the Republican Party. That's some serious Canadian shade.
See the punch that's coming, and that counter punch that's going to come from Canada is going to hurt heavily. We know it's going to hurt us, but we have no choice.
And we're going to ensure that the Americans understand how pissed off we are, how unified we are.
But the maple-flavored revenge doesn't stop there. Nova Scotia has completely banned American businesses from bidding on government contracts. Meanwhile, Manitoba and Newfoundland have pulled all U.S. goods from their state-run stores, with a special focus on products from states that turned red on election night. Those MAGA hats aren't looking so great when your state's exports are getting blocked, eh?
Which is that these tariffs hurt Americans. They hurt American companies. They hurt American workers.
Canadian provinces are also removing American-made alcohol from retail shelves. Picture the Orange Man himself trying to explain to Kentucky why nobody up north is buying their bourbon anymore. They're being very unfair to our beautiful American drinks. Very unfair. Nobody knows drinks like I do. The genius part of Canada's strategy is that they're not just fighting back, they're moving on. They're accelerating trade negotiations with Europe, Asia, and Latin America to permanently reduce their economic dependence on Donnie Diapers and his tariff temper tantrums. While Trump screams America first, Canada is making sure America finishes last in their future economic plans.
Deliver to me too is stand strong. We are not going to accept these continual threats, this continued uncertainty.
And if Wisconsin voters thought they were getting a good deal with Trump, they might want to reconsider. Canada is considering steep tariffs specifically on dairy, beef, corn, and soybeans from the Badger State. That's right, Trump's supporters are about to pay the price for his policies with their jobs and their wallets. It's like they voted to shoot themselves in the foot, and now they're surprised that walking hurts.
It's called the USCMA. How does something like that trade agreement work with these flip-flops with the tariff announcements that we get from Trump?
So here's the real kicker in this whole ridiculous border drama. Wall Street is freaking out while Trump is doubling down. The US stock market is tanking, and economists are waving red flags about a potential recession thanks to these brain-dead tariffs. It's like Trump lit a $100 bill on fire just to prove he could afford matches. American farmers are taking it right in the cornfield as Canada's revenge plan hits them where it hurts. The expert consensus? This entire trade war is completely unnecessary. Farmers in Trump country are losing billions, while Donnie Diapers is probably telling his advisors that Canadians are just jealous of his beautiful tariffs. Meanwhile, ordinary Americans are paying more for basically everything, while Grumpy Trumpy convinces his followers that winning trade wars is easy. Spoiler alert, it isn't.